Zika virus is one of the most recent viruses to emerge from Africa. It was first identified in 1947 and found in human beings a few years later in Uganda. Sometime around the 1970s, the African strain of the Zika virus made its way to Southeast Asia. And in very recent years, a different type of the Zika virus, known as the Asian strain, moved from mainland Southeast Asia into the Pacific Islands, with the first major outbreak taking place on Yap Island about 2007. Thereafter, it made its way across the Pacific, reaching mainland South America and Brazil in 2014 and coming into public awareness in 2015. The Zika virus, as best we know at this moment, is transmitted principally by a single mosquito vector known as Aedes aegypti. Aedes aegypti is, without doubt, the most dangerous animal in the Americas. It transmits, is what I want to say, Zika virus, but also yellow fever virus and chikungunya virus and dengue virus. So it's an extremely dangerous vector. And new information is coming out about Zika virus virtually every day. So what we know today is pretty different than what we knew a week ago or 2 or 3 weeks ago. But the big picture is that Zika virus can potentially spread very rapidly, in part because of this single mosquito vector, Aedes aegypti. Unlike most other mosquitoes, when a female mosquito takes her blood meal from a human being, it's usually a single bite, and that's what allows her to have the nutrients to lay eggs. But the Aedes aegypti mosquito is different in that it doesn't just take a single blood meal from one person. It flits around and it bites 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 10 people in succession before it's satisfied. So that's a big problem in terms of transmission, and it makes it a much more competent vector than any other mosquito. We think that there may be some other mosquitoes involved too. There's a mosquito called Aedes albopictus, which is now globally distributed, and there perhaps are other vectors. But the big picture is that it can spread pretty rapidly, and that most infections don't cause any problem whatsoever. Probably 80% of the people who get bitten by a mosquito carrying Zika virus are completely asymptomatic, have no fever, have no ill effects whatsoever, don't even really know, they don't even know that they've been infected with Zika virus. About another 20% are symptomatic in one way or another, and typically it gets expressed through a rash, sometimes a low-grade fever, and frequently conjunctivitis in more than about 50% of the cases. So the problems, as you've probably heard, are that there are some severe developmental consequences for the children of a small percentage of women who are infected with Zika virus, and probably the most well-known of the developmental problems is microcephaly, which is an unusually small cranium and some problems with the development of the brain within it. As I say, more information is coming in week by week. It may be that there are in fact some other developmental effects from Zika virus that we'll be learning about pretty soon. But the big picture is that you want to protect yourself if you're going into areas right now in the Caribbean or in South America where the Aedes aegypti mosquito is active, and you want to protect yourself with repellents and screenings. So that's the big picture, and there we go.